Hello, it's Adedoyin Jaiyesimi here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the second module in the Unpacking Corporate Communications bite-sized comms course, where I'll be teaching you the fundamentals of the corporate communications function. If you missed the first video, please go and watch it because we looked into understanding the function. What exactly is corporate communications? What's the importance? What are the key elements? In this second module, I'll be looking at core skills every corporate communicator must answer. So let's get into it. The number one thing that every corporate communicator must master is the strategic communications framework. Now, I'm not going to teach you the framework now, as I already have two videos where I looked into this framework, and I will put them in the notes for this video. There's the bite-sized comms course on strategic communications, and then there's another one that focuses on this framework. So please, you need to go and watch that, but I will just take you through this framework. If you can master this framework, oh my goodness, you will see a difference in your output. You will see a difference in your ability to achieve your business outcomes, and you will see a difference in the kind of results that you then get from the work that you do. And it pretty much starts with this framework. It pretty much starts with situation analysis, and that's where your research starts from. Where are we now? What is happening right now in the context of the world? A lot is happening. A lot is happening that is changing business priorities. A lot is happening that is changing dynamics in terms of supply chain, cost of raw materials. Decisions in terms of the geopolitical shifts are having ripple effect across the world, across the African continent. Those are the things, because you're working as a corporate communicator, those are the things you really need to be aware of, and those are the things that should be at the forefront of your mind when you're developing your strategy. So that situation analysis is important. What is happening geopolitically? What is happening in the global landscape? What is happening regionally? What is happening within the nation? What is happening within the industry? And even within the organization, what is happening? Then the next thing is goals and objectives. So what does this organization want to achieve? What are our key priorities? What are the key things that we want to do? And from those priorities is where you then set your objectives. If you are setting communication objectives without knowing or without taking into consideration what the business goals are, what the business priorities are, you are just working for yourself, because you get to the end of the year and they will ask you, what the comms bring to the table. So you have to be able to set objectives that align with those overarching goals and priorities that your organization has. Next thing is stakeholder and audience. Really mapping your stakeholders. If you watch the first module, I touched a bit on stakeholder management and really just understanding the needs and the priorities of your stakeholders, and there's a framework around that to be able to really identify your stakeholders, map them, and then think about in messaging, what do we want them to know, what do we want them to feel, and what do we want them to do. And it is very, very critical. This is not the era of one size fits all communication. As a corporate communicator, you cannot even afford it. So you need to know, okay, government stakeholders, what are their needs, what are their priorities, what exactly should we be saying to them. Same thing with all your other stakeholders, whether they're internal or external. And then your messaging ties to your stakeholder. You have your overarching messaging, but you have your tailored messaging. That tailored messaging is so, so important. You have, and the reason why you have, and see it as a message house, right? You have the overarching message, which will then be the roof, and then the body, or the different parts of the different layers of the building, are the messaging that you are saying to different stakeholders, but they are still aligned to your overarching core message. So again, this is a discipline. If all these things that I'm saying, I say, hey God, how are you doing? What are you saying? It means you need to go for training. But at least the good thing is that I am making you aware of these things. Then you go for further training as needed. All right. So once you do that, you then develop your strategy. We're so quick. Develop comms strategy. All right. This is what we're going to do. How? You have not diagnosed. You have not researched. You have not even done any of these things. So how are you going to ensure that this strategy would actually work when the key ingredients that you need to optimize success for that strategy, they are missing? And then from there, you then go to your tactics. This is where we excel at. Tactics. We're so good. We love it. But a tactical plan or tactics that are not anchored in strategy, that is not anchored in business priorities and direction from the business goals, you are just spending money and you're just burning time. So you have to go through the process. The beautiful thing about this framework is that as you begin to apply, it becomes easier. And I always tell people, whether they come for our strategic communications training or they bring me in-house to train, go through these steps. If you want to bake a cake for the very first time, you've never done it, you have to follow the recipe now. You have to, they say, put how do they measure it? Clinical, something ounce of flour, something cups of sugar, the level of heat in the oven. You have to follow it step by step. Then after you've done it for a while, maybe your inner, what's the name of a popular chef that bakes? I don't even know. And I watch a lot of culinary shows. Anyway, I digress. Maybe your inner chef, you cannot decide, okay, I'm going to do this. You cannot be, customizing your ingredients or customizing your process, do this differently. You don't even need the book at some point, but at the very beginning you do need that instruction, and that's what it is. Please go through that process. The next thing is risk, timing, and budget. Risk, because, and we saw it very vividly last year. So December 2024, people created their strategy. This is what we want to do. January, beginning of the month, they did that. And then somebody comes into office and makes a policy shift that derailed not even just communication strategy, business or organizational priorities, derailed it completely and totally. And so organizations started to have a rethink. So if it decided that, oh no, we have created our comms strategy, we are going to follow it and implement it, sorry, you will not get any results. And so you have to look at risk, communication risk. What are the risks that we face? External risks, internal risks that can impact on the ability of us to be able to implement the strategy. And we are living in times where those uncertainties are actually risks that you have to contend or think about. Then timing. How long do we want to implement this? Is this for a year? Is this for 6 months? Is this a programmatic strategy that we're trying to develop? Or is it the corporate communication strategy in terms of the entire organization? For you, what you should do is you need to have a strategy for your entire organization. And then for the different activities that you want to do, just create plans around them. And then you evaluate. Very important, measurement and evaluation. So, like I said before, it's deeper than that. I teach this over a period of 5 weeks in our strategic communications course. Some organizations, they've engaged me full 1 week training to teach that, and even that they still say, oh, we need more time. It's something that if you can really, really, really master it, it will make a difference in your work. So technical skills to strategic communications, that's the strategic communications framework. Reputation management. You really need to understand how to manage, or how reputation is managed. What are the indices? What are the things that qualify for a good reputation? What are the things that can hinder reputation? What are the things that impact on reputation? How does reputation directly tie into the P&L, so the profit and loss, income statements, balance sheet of this organization? And I hope that you know, as a corporate communicator, the work that you're doing actually does have an impact on the finances of the organization. So don't let them come and tell you what money is communications bringing to the table. The problem is that you can't answer the questions because you don't know. But I hope that going through this course, you'll be able to have language to answer back some of those questions that you get. Next thing, stakeholder engagement and listening. You really have to know how to engage stakeholders by mapping them and really looking at what are their priorities and how do we align those priorities to our needs, because you're not going to shape shift fully, but you're going to have to align and communicate to, because people, it's like I was reading something, people don't buy the benefits of your products or the benefits of whatever it is that you do. What they're buying is what it can do for them. And so instead of you to communicate features, this is the feature, this is how, this is the, oh, he has a 2x heating, who cares? Does he iron my cloth faster? Yes. Jonathan saves you time. Does it save me electricity? That's what people want to know. And so you need to be able to have a mechanism for listening. This is a year, if your organization doesn't invest in social listening tools, what conversations are people having? What are they having about our brand? What are they having about our industry? But what are they having? What conversations are they having about their own needs as well? Your ability to craft messaging. This is a key skill that we need to have. Messaging that resonates to a diverse set of stakeholders, some of them technical, some of them non-technical. How exactly do we craft our messaging? Data gathering and insights extraction. How do we gather data? How do we gather data that can drive decision making? How do we extract insight? So you have data now. It's one thing to have data. It's okay. What do we do with this data? What exactly is this data saying? So really having that skill. Now, one thing I say about data, because it's actually a very technical skill, right? And people have asked me, should I go and learn, become an expert in it? I wouldn't say become an expert in it, but the hack for me is learn the basics and then find data analysts that you can collaborate with. If your organization is able to hire in-house like a communication analyst or just even have a data informed person, that's fantastic. But for you, learn the basics and then collaborate with a data analyst, someone that understands the discipline, that can, sit with you to help you extract insights from data. Very, very important. And then corporate and industry knowledge. Let me tell you, dear corporate communicator, if you do not understand the business from the organizational perspective, then you do not understand the industry that you are in, that you are in oil and gas. You don't understand that the thing that is happening in Venezuela, what can it come and potentially do to your organization? You don't even know. Let's say you don't even know that something is happening in Venezuela. Like, I don't know, how does Venezuela concern us? You need to know. Please and please, I said it before, this is the year of the informed communicator. You need to have mastery of what it is that your organization does. You need to have mastery of what it is that your industry entails. Anything that is happening in your industry, you should be one of the people that will know it. In fact, you'll be flagging it to them that, do you hear of this policy change? Do you hear of this news? That's when they'll start even taking you seriously, because they're like, this person is paying attention to these things. You really, really need to know. Jokes aside, very, very important. Next is the soft skills that are required. To succeed in a corporate communications role, you need the technical skills, but I find that even the soft skills sometimes can be weightier than even the technical skills, or on the same level. And the first is influence. You have to learn how to influence. And influence for you comes from, remember we spoke about listening, we spoke about data gathering and insight extraction. How do you leverage them in such a way that it guides corporate decision making? That's where influence is. You may not have positional influence because, hey, maybe you're just starting out, mid-level, whatever the dynamic is within your organization, but you can influence through data. You can influence through knowledge. You can influence through, just being able to, the fact that you know and you are aware and then you guide. That's something that you will really need to hone on. Coaching. And you're like, I'm not a coach. You are, because you're supposed to guide, especially now. You're supposed to guide your CEOs, management. Hello, sir. Hello, ma. As you are going for this engagement, here's what you should say. Here's what you shouldn't say. Ensure that they are properly media training. If you cannot do the media training, get somebody who can do the media training. Ensure they know to the T our key messages as an organization. Ensure that they have some sort of scripts that they're following. You need to coach them. This particular institution that you're going with, this is the cadre. This thing there is very, very important. You say, dear ma, we are going to the king's palace. You do not raise your hand to shake the king. You wait for the king to invite you, or whatever the protocol of the palace. I remember when I was handling comms for a particular event that had senior officials and all, I had to tell them, this person you call, you say their name this way, this is how you address them, this is what you do, don't shake this person do, then in sitting do this. Those things help with this next thing, relationship building. If your organization is trying to court government officials or get their buy-in in something, you will just be so surprised that the little thing as title, how they are addressed, will just derail something that they have been working on for 2 years. It is you. You need to know these things. You need to be informed, and then you need to inform and coach them on the right things to do. Next thing, relationship building. I think I've talked about that a lot. Need to be able to build relationships. Now, the question here is, I'm introverted. I don't like talking to people. First of all, you have to be able to separate you from your work, right? I am also introverted, even though people are like, oh my God. It's almost like I put on a different persona when I'm facing work. When I'm facing work, I have to walk up to the person. I have to be able to speak confidently. I have to be able to build this relationship, and you develop it. There are all of these things. If you say you really want to work in communications, you really have to develop that art of building relationship. It's not good enough to say, I'm an introvert, I'm going to sit in my office. They're not going to be able to be effective that way. So relationship building is very key. Critical thinking. Where are we? What is happening? What do we need? to get to where we need to be. You really need to be able to sit down. So the first model I gave an assignment, sit down and really map what exactly, in what way does the work that you do impact on the different functions. It's by sitting down and thinking critically. Okay, we have this problem as a business. Where can communications come in? Is there a place for communications to play in solving this operational problem? You have to be able to think. If you don't think, you're just going to be doing things the same way. You're not going to be able to get inspiration for something new. And the next, you have problem solving. Are you able to solve problems in your organization? Yes, you're a communications professional, but if you leverage critical thinking, if you leverage the things that I've been sharing and the things that I will share in the other modules of this course, you should be able to solve problems. You should be able to say, this problem that exists, what role can communications play? What can communications do to solve this problem? Let me tell you, business leaders now are looking for problem solvers, and it is even more critical in these times that we're in, because people are very confused because of the way the world is going. People are very confused as to the directions. People are very confused about how to play things, because things are fragile, policy is fragile, the reaction of nations, governments is quite, it's moving, it's so unpredictable. And so businesses have to really stay on top of that, be aware of what's going on, and think about, hey, how do we course correct? How do we prepare for this? What steps do we need to take to hedge against all of these risks? So your problem solving ability is very important. Tied to that is strategic foresight. And this is, again, you being able to say, that's why critical thinking is very important in all of these things. Though, where is the world now? Because there's nothing new under the sun. It's the Bible that says that. Where is the world now? Where, looking at the trends, looking at the plays, looking at the conversations, where is the world possibly going? And this means that you need to be able to expand your scope beyond just communications. Are you listening to analysis about different sectors? You, as you are now, as a corporate communicator, have you listened or read or watched people talk about the global economic outlook? Maybe global is too far. Your national economic outlook, do you know about it? Those are things that help you in your work, especially for you as a corporate communicator, right? Emotional intelligence. Again, I don't think I need to speak too much about why that is particularly important in the times that we're living in. You need to be emotionally intelligent, when to say things, how to say things, and this helps in coaching your business leaders. Don't go and say XYZ, this is the audience, this is the temperament, this is the mood, this is what would land, this is how it will land. So that you don't, again, remember I spoke about in the first module about issues, then snowballing into crisis. Lack of emotional intelligence from business leaders can create big issues that can spiral into a crisis. Agility and adaptability is so needed. You may need to do your strategy so many times, go and rework it. You course correct, you would, because things are changing, and so that ability to adapt very, very quickly is key. And then cultural awareness is particularly important if you are working in an organization that operates in multiple regions, maybe within or outside the African continent. You should know that this thing may land in Rwanda, in Kenya, is going to be a disaster. That kind of cultural awareness helps you in languaging, helps you in approach, helps you in which spokesperson do we even send, really helps in decision making. Now, these are the things, again, business leaders may not necessarily be paying attention to these things, but because you are the communications professional, you're meant to be giving them this insight. But if you don't know, your organization doesn't know, all of you, yeah, just, I don't know what to say to that, but I hope you get the point. All right, so to wrap this up, I'll be looking at some essential tips for success in this role. You're like, Adedoyin, I want to succeed as a corporate communications person. One, understand the business deeply. Emphasis on deeply. Have you read your company's annual reports? Or yes, have you read the annual report, sustainability report? Do you even know the business strategy? Have you read those documents? Don't tell me that they don't is technical. It's okay. Just first read it. When I'm reading something that doesn't make sense to me, maybe because it's not my area of expertise, I first read it. Then I go and find the person who knows. And I say, explain this thing to me like a 5-year-old. Break it down. And they begin, okay. Because see, what you really think is complex, I've discovered that it's actually not that complex. It's just that they are using a language that you are not familiar with. It's just that if I come now and start speaking Chinese, discourse in Chinese, you will be like, what are they doing saying? Lack of understanding, you'll be disengaged. But once I begin to speak your language, you are interested. You're like, okay, that's what that means. That's exactly it. It's not complex at all. Numbers are not complex. Finance not complex. Data not, and you need to have that mindset. It's not complex. Just find a way to simplify it and communicate it in the language that you understand. I hope that helps somebody. But your effectiveness on the job will depend on you knowing, one, your organization strategies and priorities. What are the priorities for 2026? What are we focused on? Very important. What are the key risks and opportunities? In the first video that I released this year, I talked about communication risks. You really have to know what are the key risks, not even just from a communication perspective, but from a business perspective that your organization faces. Is the big guy in America a potential threat to the existence of the business right now? Do you know? You should know. Stakeholder expectations. What are they expecting from us this year and going forward? Because I don't even want you to look at 2026. You have to look at it in the context of 5 years, 10 years, because organizations operate within that kind of cycle. So you have the 1 year, but you also have to think about long term, because decisions being made now have long term implications. So you think in that way. What is happening in the industry and the competitive landscape? Please know these things. I can beg you. 2, become a trusted partner to leadership. That's why I started off this module really explaining what this role is about and what it is meant to deliver, so that you know the space and the level at which you should be operating with. Yes, I know there is a misunderstanding of this function, but you yourself that occupies this role, you have to be very, very clear about the value so that you can begin to articulate it. Then you can make decisions about, okay, these people are not going to take this function seriously. Let me go and find the organization that does, so that you deliver the results there. You need to become a trusted partner to leadership. Your influence will come from leadership having confidence in your judgment. Offer proactive counsel. Be able to tell them based on data, based on the information that you have. See, you have to be very proactive about certain things. You see why those soft skills are important, the critical thinking, strategic foresight, going to help you in your role, providing actionable insights for decision making. And you already have access to these insights. What are the insights from the website backend? What is it showing you? What are those numbers saying? The content that you post on social media that went, really viral or got the higher, what exactly is it communicating? What people are saying, sending in the DMs? What is the implication? Ladies and gentlemen, we have, because I get frustrated because we have the raw materials, but let's translate them into actionable insights that guides decision making. Every week or every other week, you should be able to submit something to the people that, hey, this is where we are, this is what we're hearing, this is the implication. Have your communications dashboard with some key metrics, and I will touch on it in the model of measurement. Things that you're tracking, things that you're noticing, and tell them the ripple effect that it may have. That is where you begin to position yourself as a trusted partner. I hope you can feel my passion for this. And then the next thing is translate complex issues into simple language. That's what we're meant to do. Some of you work in organizations that deal with really technical subject matter, but you need to be able to distill it in simple language, because not all of your stakeholders understand the complexity. How do we make it simple so that we can get the buy-in of the stakeholders that we need? Next, strengthen cross-functional collaboration. Again, if you've not done the assignment I gave you in the first module, really do it. Your work, you should be able to work seamlessly with HR, legal, strategy, whatever team exists within the organization. Why? Because you are at the center. So every department, there's a way that you're feeding into them. And how does this happen? You build credibility by understanding their needs. And as they tell you their needs, you begin to wear your cap and say, where can communications help? What can communications do to help to ease out the bottlenecks? Now, somebody may say, Adedoyin, you want to kill me? I'm the only person in my organization. We'll get to that. I'm telling you about how this role is meant to be, the ideal state. We will now discuss the realities and the challenges. There's a part for that. But the ideal state, communications feeds into every function. And so integrating messaging across departments will begin to be important. And then you support them with communication toolkits. This is how we communicate. There is no reason that sales, business development, they just wake up one day and say, oh, we're going to pitch for new clients. They now develop one pitch deck that is off brand. There is no guideline on how our logo is positioned, what colors you use, or they go and they want to do an event. One department wants to do an event off brand, no guidance, messaging wrong. Know that our work, we have it cut out for us. So you have to be able to support them with communications toolkits and train them as well. There's internal training on brand and communication that needs to be done. Demonstrate professionalism and high ethical standards. Communications are the guardians of reputation. Yes, you guard reputation, you guard trust, you guard the social license to operate. So for you, you have to be able to maintain confidentiality, manage information responsibly, who to say what to. There's sometimes that I'm working on a brief and then my mom is like, maybe she knows that I'm part of that brief. Oh, tell me. I said, Mom, it's confidential information. No, I can't. I'm so sorry. Please, let's be guided. When I now finish, I can close my laptop and we just about other things. How do you manage information responsibly? Challenge inaccurate narratives internally before we go external. Some people are so good with their external communication that they forget those who are on the inside, and that should not be the case. Whatever you communicate from on the outside must flow from the inside. If the people on the inside are confused, best believe at some point there will be confusion on the outside. Advocate for transparency and honesty. That's really the core of the skills, the technical skills that you need to know, the soft skills that you need to master, and the things that would ensure and enable your success in this role. In the next model, we're going to be looking at some best practices for corporate communications. I hope that you found this useful. If you are learning and benefiting from this course, please leave a message so that I know that yes, it's making sense, it's helping you, and then I look forward to you completing the entire course. Bye.